What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, America? We are back again. It is on and it is popping. Brooklyn Beers and Ball Sports. See, that's part of the intro, too. You know what I'm saying? It's a little still early for me, even though it's 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But it's 7 a.m. and Don's got more life on his coast than I got on mine. But listen, it's all good. And it's all popping. Brooklyn Beers and Ball Sports Show. We are in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for jumping on. We appreciate all the love. YouTube, Facebook. We thank y'all so much, man, for just supporting us and all that we do and just coming through and rocking with us here in season 2. Man, we talked about the Super Bowl last week, and we're going to talk more about it again, you know what I'm saying, as we just seen the DC for the 49ers lose his job, and was it justified? Man, we're going to talk about it today. We also got a little NBA stuff we're going to talk about. We got the All-Star Weekend is in the building, and could you imagine LeBron and Steph coming together? What would that have been like? How would that have impacted their legacy? But guess what? Me and Don, we're going to chop it up and we're going to break it down. We're going to give you our opinions and all of it, man. But we here. Don is back, y'all. You know what I'm saying? He was hurting last week, but he looks better today. And he was even, you know what? I don't know if y'all saw him convalescing in the last show. As the show progressed, he got better and he got better and he got better. And his emotions and his mental state all just started to come together. And, you know, and then next you know, people was coming for him in the chat and D was blasting guns and he was going at him and ready to know. And so, you know what I mean? But D is back, y'all. D is back. Because, you know, he's had this, before I throw it to our boy D to find out what he's going. But you know what? Don has always had a lot of composure, y'all. You know what I mean? I'm the wild one. I'm the crazy one. I'm the one that's always just rambunctious and, you know what I'm saying, all these histrionics and just getting tight and all this, you know. But Don has been cool and calm. But y'all need to watch last week's show, man. D was hurting. D was hurting. He was a little out of pocket, but it's all right, man. I guess that's what happens when your team loses the Super Bowl. I wouldn't know. Haven't been there in a good while. But nevertheless, man, what's good with you, Don, man? How you feeling, bro?
I don't know about, you know, all of this hurt and pain that you're trying to tell everyone that you saw last week. I mean, I was just, I think I was pretty, I think I was composed. I just, you know, there was a few people that, of course, you know, a group of guys always, you know, want to try me. And of course, just like anything else, you just have to be able to defend your point, you know, so it's all good. Listen, Super Bowl, we're going to talk a little bit about the fallout of the Super Bowl and, you know, Steve Wilkes, unfortunately losing his job. But we're on to the NBA. You see the background? We're on to the NBA, man. Yeah. We're on to my Brooklyn Nets and your Los Angeles Lakers. We're moving on. You know, football season is done until, you know, maybe off season when they start making some acquisitions we'll speak of. But man, listen, good show. We're gonna have a good show. Without further ado, man, let's get into it. Okay, as we discussed last week, Super Bowl, unfortunately, the 49ers did lose the game. It was overall an entertaining Super Bowl. But of course, when you have the team that you have the expectations that you have, and you do not meet those, heads have to roll. And of course, by them giving John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan extensions, who was the person that was the newest? Last hired, first fired, right? So Steve Wilkes wind up getting the axe. The question is, did he deserve to be fired? Okay, given his defense, given what he likes to do as it pertains to blitzing and his philosophy, what did he deserve to be fired? Did Kyle Shanahan ever buy into Steve Wilkes? Was it just a random hire? Was it a thoughtful hire? You got to think about this. There's been 3 defensive coordinators in the last 4 years. You have great players and you have the personnel, but at some point, continuity has to come into play. At some point, there has to be a consistent. Now, I understand that our coaches, the 49ers coaches, get poached because they're such, you know, they put out great tape. They're able to, so they're highly desired. So I understand that. But at the same time, given what Steve Wilkes was able to do over the course of the season, and in the Super Bowl, I think it was premature to fire him. Now, if you're going to fire him and get Bill Belichick, okay, well, yeah, all right. Some things, but is Bill Belichick willing to be a defensive coordinator for the 49ers? Even if, he didn't get picked up in this coaching cycle, do you think Bill Belichick will humble himself enough to be the defensive coordinator for the 49ers? They've thrown around a lot of different names, Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel from Tennessee, the former coach. They've thrown around a lot of different potential suitors to be the defensive coordinator to replace Steve Wilks. But I want to ask you, Rod, do you think, first of all, it was justified? And if you could think of someone that is available that can replace him, who would it be? What do you say?
Well, I have to say, and I know there's been a lot of irate over his firing Steve Wilks, but I agree. I believe that firing is justified. I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's been a tough journey for Wilks. 1 year in Arizona, one and done. They didn't give him enough time to even build anything and establish anything in Arizona. And he's in D.C. there and Carolina. And then the man can coach defense. They had a good defense then, took over the interim position after the firing there of their head coach, and then didn't get hired from his or promoted from his interim position. And so he comes to the Niners, and now he's one and done in San Francisco. But I do think the firing was justified. And I'm going to just be honest with you. I know everybody's going to say, well, look what this man's done. Good defense this year. They were good against the run. Yes, they had some highs and lows, but this team was still good during the year defensively. Bad outings in the divisional rounds, in the divisional round and in the NFC Championship, but he did play good football. he did coach good defense in the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, and from what I learned yesterday, I was listening to Cowboy Radio 103.5 The Fan, and John Onings, who is actually out in the Bay. He lives in California, but he covers the Cowboys. He was on the radio, and he's very connected to the 49ers organization and to a lot of their insiders there. And from what he was reporting was that there was a lot of tension this year between Kyle and Wilks and their philosophy and the kind of defense that, Wilks is running. I think the players weren't really all bought in to his philosophy and what he was doing. I think they were accustomed to pretty much what Saleh and DeMeco Ryans had ran and their system there, which really put the players in a better position. Wilks came in, changed some things up, and John really breaks it down into an X and O's. He really went over the schemes and stuff like that, and it was a really, really interesting thing. I'll probably send it to you, D, just so you could probably listen to it. But it was really good, and I think for me, and I said this on Tuesday when we talked about the review of the Super Bowl, I said it's the coaches that lost that game for the 49ers. Both Shanahan and Wilks, they take ultimate responsibility for that loss. It was not on the players. If you think about the players didn't play bad in that Super Bowl. And though you got to give credit to KC's defense for taking guys out and kind of making them somewhat ineffective in terms of the weaponry that San Francisco has. But at the end of the day, it was bad coaching. It was bad decision-making within the crucial points of the game. And that's when defenses did. This is what makes Spags such a good defensive coordinator in Super Bowls and in the championship games, because it's what he calls, what he dials up in the moment. He understands what's taking place and what teams are going to try to do in that position. And he's not, he knows how to adjust. Wilks firing is justified in my opinion, because again, I'm not saying he should have lost his job for what he failed to do in the Super Bowl. I just think all year long, this defense still did not look the same. For all intents and purposes, you lost Greenlaw in the Super Bowl, huge loss. But for all intents and purposes, if I recall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, your defense for the most part was healthy this year, right? Your key guys were healthy this year. Bosa got into camp late, obviously, and whatnot. I think he kind of started out slow, but for the most part, everybody was there. You didn't have the deficits on defense like you had on offense when Trent went down, when Debo was out. McCaffrey was kind of mixed up. You lost Hufanga. Yes, Hufanga was a huge loss. Yes, Hufanga. But outside of Hufanga, I don't know if there was enough to say, the defense really had to overcome a lot of adversity. And for the most part, y'all play good defense all year. I just think the philosophy, and then looking at the run game that the run defense in the playoffs, in the divisional and the NFC Championship game, that didn't look well for Wilkes. He did bounce back strong. He bounced back strong against Pacheco in the running game with Kansas City, but playing soft coverage on that final drive of the fourth quarter and doing a zero cover blitz against Patrick Mahomes on the 3rd and 4th in overtime made no sense at all. That made no sense at all. That just that no one even understood that. And then there was one article I was reading where Shanahan calls a timeout earlier in on that drive because he didn't like what Steve Wilkes was in. He didn't like the defense he saw out there. You know what I'm saying? Offensive-minded coaches, they understand defense, right? Just like defensive guys understand offense. He saw something he didn't like. And all year long, you got the feeling that Shanahan was kind of nitpicking a little bit with Wilkes. And when I say nitpick, I don't mean that in a negative way, but it just felt like he just wasn't. He didn't provide that level of oversight with D'Amico and Saleh. It didn't feel. It was with Wilkes because I guess the schemes of what he was doing this year brought him down from off the booth. Told him, look, you got to come down to the sideline, man. And then when you start seeing changes like that, that's saying a lot. So it just wasn't going to work philosophically. It just wasn't going to hit another year.
But don't you kind of vet that before you make the hire? Like, don't you look into what the person's tendencies are prior to hiring them? Because if you're going to hire someone and then you're going to nitpick or you're going to second guess or challenge the way they run the defense, then that's a recipe for disaster. Now, I get what you're saying about we both stated on the last show. Certain defensive schemes down the stretch was mind-blowing why he would have them in that. But of course, that's for another show as to perhaps why that happened.
Right.
But in any case, what did the offense do? If you say that you held held Patrick Mahomes to 25 points in a Super Bowl, and when you think about how they played, I think that if you think about the defense from a defensive standpoint, turnovers, sacks, in the Super Bowl, they really shined. And the fact that the offense was not able to put it together to score points in the red zone, to get it to settle for threes, that speaks more about why we lost than the defense. Because if you're basing it off of down the stretch in overtime, just some boneheaded decisions to set up defense in a certain way, okay, cool. That was a contributing factor. But I think the offense being stalled and not being able to put up points when the opportunities were right there and available, I think that was the bigger factor in why we ultimately didn't win the Super Bowl. But of course, we know someone has to be blamed, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
it
I
ain't
think
going to be Shanahan.
It's not going to be Shanahan.
Well, he'll be blamed, but he ain't going to have any consequences to it, though. But
they'll just hold up what he was able to do, get us to a certain point, but not get us over the hump. And so those will be questions that are always there. But I think his redeeming qualities, because he's such, or considered to be such, an offensive genius, they will look past his faults and see the team's needs, right?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, Steve Wilkes didn't deserve to be fired, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think it was premature. Now, if you're going to replace him with someone that is better, that is more proven, is something, that discussion, that vetting discussion and the vetting of the replacement of the defensive coordinator, it better not happen in 2 days. Oh yeah, we had this person. Because if you picked up a person that, or you are able to hire someone that quick, that means probably, unless the person wasn't available, right, at the beginning of the year, that person was already on your radar, and you should have probably gone with that person first before hiring Steve Wilkes. I think Steve Wilkes got a raw deal. He got a raw deal in Carolina, but Carolina is getting what they deserve because the way they did him at the end, so ultimately, Steve Wilks, hopefully he finds another opportunity, another job somewhere.
He will. He'll definitely get another job.
Which court was Justin Tuck? Justin Tuck was like talking about the Cowboys. I mean, you guys already made your hire, but he was already like, hey, you guys need to hire Wilks as your defensive coordinator. Now,
that'd be nice.
I disagree with that only because you don't have the personnel, right? Unless McCarthy is going to let him do him with the defense. And I think Kyle needs to do that. Either hire someone that you feel confident that you can let them flow in how they do it. But if a person feels like they're being questioned.
But he did do that with Salah and D'Amico Ryan. And that's what I was saying. It was different with Wilks. He just wasn't comfortable with Wilks' philosophical approach to the game in terms of his defensive scheme.
But then that's something that you kind of you go through all of that process before the hire, right? Because
you do, but then once you make that hire, and then once you start, as the season evolves, right, adjustments get made, or maybe how Steve was responding to different situations. And then again, when y'all was struggling offensively for that 3-game stretch, when y'all lost 3 in a row, the offense was hurting, right? So now that puts more pressure on the defense, which again, I do think that your defense responded in those 3 games to a degree. Your offense was stymied because you didn't have Debo, you didn't have Trent. But then again, how a coordinator kind of goes through that process, and I don't think that Witchko was comfortable with the way he was handling it. Shanahan, I don't think he was comfortable with the way Steve Wilks was responding to the adjustments and different things as far as preparation. Because you guys, I've never seen, and I don't know, you watch the 49ers a lot more in detail than I do. I don't know. It just felt like there was. And I know Salah had his ups and downs, and so did Ryan, because the team turned around once CMC got there, where y'all really began to really come to another level. But defensively, y'all have always been good. But it just seems like there was never no adjustments to what was being done from week to week when y'all was struggling. You know what I'm saying? It was like, okay, there's a real bad hole here. Something's not working. You understand what I'm saying? We got to get this fixed. And I don't know if Wilks ever really done that to that degree. And again, he made adjustments in the Super Bowl. I thought the 49ers defense played very well. Better than what I suspected. And I told you I didn't think they was going to play well at all. I thought Pacheco was going to have a day and a half. But the defense played good. So kudos to Wilks. He adjusted. There was just the in-game moments. And we know Shanahan is not – he'll get blamed for what he does. He does Shanahan-type things. We've seen it. But he's not going to face consequences. But although, Robert says, hey, you know what? He might be gone next year. I don't know though. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he'll get fired. They just, because who do you replace him with? That's the thing. Like, Shanahan is you don't have anybody to replace him with. In other words, that situation, the 49ers situation, is not really necessarily a coaching thing where they need some culture, or they need somebody to kind of just take them over the top with a culture thing. It wasn't like the Dungy Gruden type situation in Tampa Bay. You know what I'm saying? Where he kind of came in and Dungy built the team. He took them over. Steve Kerr did the same thing. Mark Jackson, for whatever needed to be done, and Jackson's personality just clashed. They really just needed a culture change. You know what I'm trying to say? It wasn't so much that Steve was a better coach than Jackson. They just needed something cultural. I don't see that with the 49ers. I don't think it's a culture thing. They just need to just Shanahan. It's just Shanahan is right there. He's at the top of the game of coaches. He's at the upper echelon. Who are you going to get that's better than him? Really, all honesty, unless you're getting an Andy Reid. Outside of Reid, who else is there in the NFL? There's no other coach really better than him. What other coach is better than Shanahan? Think about it.
Yeah.
There isn't. Andy Reid is the only coach that's better than him. That's it.
Yeah.
No one else is better than him.
So
he's the cream of the cream.
So who do you think they should? Anybody you can think of that they could replace?
Bring in for Wilks?
with?
Well, I would say go inside. I think Dan Quinn, and I'm not mistaken, I'm at the research. I thought he pulled one of your guys from your staff to join over there. So I was thinking maybe you guys still maybe want to go within. You know what I'm saying? Usually players like that level of continuity and coaches that they are comfortable with, those position coaches, I thought maybe that would be something that the Niners could look into. You know what I'm saying? And just.
But if
bring
it
in a
was
guy
someone
that
that was already on your staff, why would you then hire Wilks? Is the problem. That's the problem I have. You fire Wilks, who pretty much had a top. He coached a top 7-8 defense for the entire season. When you do that, it needs to be someone that is, that person is by far better and will take us to the next level. Because if you're pulling someone within the ranks, maybe it's cheaper that way, right? You're not paying, because the person's just being elevated and they are on a kind of a prove me. I got to prove myself. I'm getting this opportunity or whatever. But if that person is in your ranks already, why not just go with them? You pulled Wilks because he was impressive with Carolina and in the interim status down the stretch. I think they wind up going 500 with pretty much a decimated team. And so why would you then pull, if you have someone there, why wouldn't you just use them from the onset? That way you could allow that person, the continuity is already there, as you said, and you could build with them, right? Give them their bumps and bruises, because even though Wilks was familiar with coaching defense, you still have to get ingratiated into the 49ers culture, and they got to get used to your style of coaching. But if someone was already there that they were familiar with, why not go with them? I just it better be a splash hire. It better be somebody that I can say,
I don't even know who's out there really. I mean, unless you pull honestly, unless you're gonna pull somebody from a top 10 defense, a position coach from their staff. That's because everybody's already settled. Everybody's got their DCs in place already.
Well, no, and they got a lot of head coaches that are still floating around. I mean,
Belichick, you mentioned Belichick a few minutes ago. I don't think that would happen. No
Pete Carroll, they have Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel, I could probably see. I could probably see
someone else
Vrabel, but Vrabel, I don't know if those personalities work. And I think Shanahan, I don't know. He gives me vibes that he's not the type of individual that does well with strong personalities that could ultimately ultimately resist him to some degree. D'Amico Ryans is a very cool dude. Yeah, I think he's the kind of guy that, he's a guy that I think, because the way he thinks, he's a micromanager. He's very detailistic. He's an overthinker. He overanalyzes. So people like that are people that are going to very much be in the weeds of everything. And I think he's one of those I'm the smartest guy in the room kind of thing. You know what I mean? And in some cases he probably is, but I just get that kind of vibe from him, that he's not going to a guy like Vrabel, who's been a head coach and had some success as a coach, right? He's going to come in there and he might, I don't know, he could be an intimidating factor. I don't know if he would want a guy who could almost potentially take his job. You know what I'm saying?
Not
that he could. Not that he could, but I'm just saying, when you get another coach in there, it creates a bit of some insecurity, or at the minimum some competition. And I think that's the thing that you got to be a little careful with. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think Shanahan wants that type of thing in his room, in his building. Because remember, the 49ers are ran by Shanahan, D, and you know that.
No, I understand that. Yeah. I understand that.
So I think,
but if that is, if he's ultimately standing in the way of success, then that's a problem. If what you're saying is true, and you feel that Kyle Shanahan would be threatened by someone who was a coach that had success, like we'll say, for example, Vrabel, if you say that he would be intimidated by him, I don't know. I disagree with that. I disagree with that, because it would have to be someone that has the offensive mindset. That would be a question mark. Vrabel is known for being a defensive coach. I don't think in the NFL, where offense rules, they want to see people put up points. I don't think someone who is known for their defense would be a threat to them.
But I tell you what, but the thing is this, Vrabel with defense. Now, if Vrabel believes wholeheartedly about whether it's something schematically or if he feels the way a player needs to play, or if he needs to position guys differently than what's been done in the past, right? And let's just say if there's a difference of opinion in terms of how they approach the game philosophically, which what has been reported, not heavily reported, but in some circles there in San Francisco, that Wilkes and Shanahan all year long were having some tension with that. I think that is something where Vrabel will push back and be like, no, I think this is what will work. So I don't know if Shanahan wants that kind of resistance from a guy who is towering and his stature and can be intimidating.
Well, yeah, there was some report that because of how he looks, and everything, he was intimidating, and GMs and owners were kind of that.
I know, and I'm not giving that any credence. I'm just throwing that in there. I'm just throwing that in there for fun. I get
I'm
it.
not
giving that any credence, but I'm just saying, ridiculous. I don't know if Shanahan. I would not be surprised if y'all pick someone who is coming from a very good. Either y'all going to come from within, or you're going to get a very, very highly recommended position coach from a really good defensive team. Could come from Baltimore this year. Could come from Carolina. It could come from somebody, again, a top 10 defense. Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland, this is for you. Somebody might come in there from there. You might hire. So I could see that being the case. But here's what will happen. I'll say this and then we can move on, or, I'll throw it back to you. It's going to be a coach who Shanahan believes they need to have this kind of philosophy. And I think that's because Shanahan is coaching the team. And a head coach, I think, should do that, right? I don't think Shanahan should just be regulated to just the offensive guru and not just concern himself with nothing else. I think he has in his mind the kind of defense he sees the 49ers playing. And I think he wants to get a guy in there who is going to adhere to that system and see what their feelings are about that and how to make that work. And so I think you're going to have to, if I know Shanahan, and I'm just saying this loosely, when he studies these teams and what they did defensively, is it anything close to what the Niners do? And those are the people he's going to probably pick from that tree who was kind of running something similar, or at least at one point in their career and in their coaching journey, coach something similar to what the Niners like to run. And I think he has an idea of what he's looking for. So it won't be a big name, won't be a Vrabel, definitely won't be a Belichick. And So.
Okay, well, it is what it is on that. I just want to make a point of reference to all of because I have a few of my brothers in my church that are Raider fans. Shout out to the Raiders, making news, right? Jimmy G, who I don't know, what did he do this season? Why does he need performance?
Why does he even need performance?
He needs to perform first. You got to perform before you can enhance the performance. So shout out to the Raider fans one in particular, who went on and on and on. He spent the following 10 days or the last, week or so, just putting up, memes about what the Niners didn't do. And, but now you have, you made some news. Congratulations, Raider fans. You made some news. Jimmy G suspended for performance-enhancing drugs. All right. Let's talk about, before we talk about the All-Star break, because we're the All-Star break in the NBA is upon us, right? We got some, they had a celebrity game yesterday. Yeah. And of course, I think they got skills challenges today, Saturday. Yeah. And I think Sunday will be ultimately the All-Star game. There was a report that LeBron James was going to go to the Warriors.
Right.
Interesting. And I guess Rich Paul, they got in contact with him and said Rich Paul that LeBron wasn't going to do it. But my question to you, and this is beautiful, what does that say about Steph Curry? Because you said Kevin Durant was a bench rider, a bus rider, whatever he was, right? And he did a sucker move, right?
Yeah.
And even though Kevin Durant came to the Warriors and took over as the best player, Finals MVP, pretty much ran the team. He was the best scorer on the team. You said it was a sucker move. So are you suggesting that The fact that they asked if LeBron was available, another top 2 player, arguably the best player ever in some people's estimation, that Steph Curry was okay with it, because they're not asking about LeBron behind Steph Curry's back. You do agree with that, right?
No, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Cool. So good. I want to just get you on record with that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Was that a potential in the making sucker move, as you would say, sucker MC move, to try to team up with LeBron?
No, it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the dynamics.
Your whole argument is done about Kevin Durant. I don't want to hear nothing about Kevin Durant ever
again, America, as I often tell my co-host here, Mr. Don, there's context to every argument. There's context to every position that one takes. And again, we got to put these things in proper context. So this is not a sucker MC move, although I'm glad it got nixed and Rich Paul said no. And I think LeBron even said no. I mean, he might have entertained it for a second, but LeBron's got $1 billion empire in LA. He's not leaving. He's going to stay put. Which is what he's going to do. So here's the thing. Don, listen, you're looking at 2 guys who are clearly not in their prime any longer. Okay. Although Steph is still playing lights out with the shooting. Steph could be 55 and still shoot almost like what he's shooting now. But he's not the kind of player that's going to be able to carry, because, Clay diminished a lot, though he did look well off the bench the other day at 35, coming off the bench now. The reality is, you got to put it in context in terms of where they are in their careers. Okay, Golden State is not a 73-win team. They're not a championship team any longer. They're not even going to make a threat to be a championship team this year. So they don't have they got playoff aspirations and they'll be in the playoffs, but they're not going anywhere, right? So you got to put that in context of the team and where they are. They're not a 73-win team. They're not a championship team as they were when Kevin Durant joined them. Secondly, LeBron, 62 years old. Again, the Lakers, not a team that's going to win, not a team, again, like the Golden State Warriors, playoff aspirations, but no world championship. They're not going to be in contention for that when it's all said and done. And so the thought and the idea of maybe them coming together, and this is probably pushed more from Golden State's camp, to maybe make a little splash, right? Let's just do something interesting. Let's just poke the bear and see, and a little splash in terms of, you know what? We could shake up some things in the NBA. What would it be like for the fans to see Steph and LeBron together? And that's really deep. That's about all that really was.
It's not about them trying to get more championships. Are you trying to
they
tell
wouldn't have
me?
won if you put them 2 together. They wouldn't have won. They still wouldn't have been able to beat I don't think they would have still beat the Clippers or even Denver. I don't think they have enough to beat.
So if you got Steph Curry, so if you got because obviously you're not going to trade LeBron to the Lakers for a Draymond or even a Clay. So that nucleus of LeBron, Steph, Draymond, and Clay is not enough to be in the finals or represent the West?
No, because they would have lost a lot. You would have had to give up a lot. I mean, what would you going to do?
Young players. Okay, you get rid of Kuminga. Get rid of Kaminsky or whatever that do.
Kuminga's a very good player. Like Kuminga, I'm not. Yeah, that boy is that's a dude, son. He's gonna be a dude. He's gonna be a dude. See, like you're not gonna give that up.
It's about teaming up. We're talking. So let me ask you a question.
But they didn't change the landscape.
Is Steph Curry still a top 10 player?
He is a top 10 player still.
Okay. Is LeBron a top 5 player?
In my opinion, yeah, I still think he is.
Okay, yeah. So is it still about creating a super team? You're trying to, it's about the fan experience. But it's about the new technology. Okay, but let me ask you this. Can put it on your eyes and be right in between in the huddle. It is about them trying to get championships.
Well, right. It's about them getting championship in theory. But again, would that acquisition have changed the landscape of the NBA?
Yes.
No, it would not have. It would not have.
Yes.
Nobody still would have favored them over. I don't think they would have still had enough to overcome Denver. I don't think they still would have had enough to overcome a healthy Clippers team, right?
Okay,
I don't think they would have enough.
Whereas
KD going to Golden State though, that was a seismic shift to the NBA. That shifted everything. It was going to be the Warriors, and then it was going to be everybody else. There was nobody that was going to beat that team.
Steph and the Warriors inquiring about LeBron James, there's no sucker move whatsoever by doing that.
Nah, because of the way they are in their career, and they've already won chips. KD never won a chip. That's the context, because KD could not win. KD didn't have enough to take his team and lead his team to a championship. So he joined a championship team already. And then won with a team that was
if LeBron went to the Warriors, it would be the same deal. He would be joining a team that has 4 rings, right?
But not to get his first chip. See, now if he was ring hustling for his first chip and felt like, and was in his prime where he was like, yo, I got to get a chip. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play with this dude over here so that I can win. I'm going to go ahead and play with another dominant championship team. And I'm going to go win over here. It's almost like, it was almost be like if Shaq couldn't get and lead the Lakers to a championship team, he would just turn around and say, you know what? I'm just going to join the Spurs. Me and Tim Duncan.
But something should be beneath you, don't you think? If you're arguably top 2 ever, you are the leading scorer, all-time leading scorer, right?
Yeah.
Steph Curry, arguably the best shooter. You said it several.
Arguably, I would just say hands
down. The best shooter ever, right?
Right.
Best shooter ever.
Right.
Those things should be beneath you to even inquire at this point. It's not like you haven't had success, right? You are multiple championships.
That's it. Right there.
Right.
That's
but yet you're still inquiring how you can get better and create a super team.
And that's okay in the sense if you're saying you're at the end of your career, end of career. But do you know what that move is like? That's like Pippen when he got with Barkley and Elijah Wan, and they tried to get a ring together over there with Clyde and everything. And it was when Barkley.
But there hasn't been Steph hasn't declined.
They was at the end of their career.
Game hasn't declined. LeBron's game has not declined.
But his team is not as good, right? But at the end of the day, Golden State is not as good. They're not a good team. They'll probably end up in the play.
And OKC wasn't good enough. So how is it okay?
OKC was in the finals. OKC was in the finals.
But
now you talk about this Golden State team. I mean, they were the champions a couple years ago. But what I'm saying is this team is not the team. Now, if you talk about their core new,
They were champions 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
So we're not talking ancient history. 2 years ago, they were champions. Just like the year before, when Kevin Durant went to the Warriors, they were a champion 2 years ago, were they not? It was 2 years ago when they were champions, right? Because they were coming off of
they were just in the finals, Golden State, and they lost LeBron.
So what am I to say about the 49ers as an example?
Come on, that loss, a Game 7 loss to LeBron James. Okay,
they lost.
Right, they did. But I'm saying, did that take away from their superiority as a team, though? No, they had won 73 games that year, more than any other team.
That was better than them, and would have continued to be better than them.
Right.
LeBron had the Warriors number prior to Kevin Durant going there. We got to be honest about that. LeBron had the Warriors number prior to Kevin Durant coming there.
He did. But the move is not, I'm not so much upset about that move that Golden State did to coerce or to go ahead and poach KD to come to the Warriors. It's more about KD willingly going there. Just like LeBron. Steph can say, hey, LeBron, come join me, which is clearly what happened. But at the end of the day, LeBron ain't got to take that invitation. And he didn't.
He didn't take it. And why didn't he take it? Because he built a $100 million studio. And LeBron clearly...
Because he's not chasing anything like KD was. KD at that time was chasing a ring, and they said to KD...
What was he chasing in Miami? This is how many stops already? He was chasing rings to go to Miami, wasn't he not?
When he went to Miami, right? Miami was a bad team.
Right.
All he did was
join the super team, Rod.
They formed the super team, but what I'm saying is they had to build that team. KD was inserted into a team that was already established and was pretty much on their way to become a dynastic team.
How is that different from colluding into a team? How is that a person who is a free agent that has the decision to go anywhere he wants? He made a decision that was in his best interest. Kudos to him. How is that?
Not from a competitive standpoint. Not if you're one of the great players.
How is that worse than colluding to create a super team And at that point, not 4, not 5, not 6 tells you everything you need to know about what LeBron thought that team was going to be when he joined.
Okay, so let me ask you this though: was LeBron's team with Miami 4 straight final appearances, only won 2 now? They underwhelmed.
That's not our business though.
Right.
Because they couldn't get over the hump and actually win. That's not our business. They had the personnel to do it. That's not our business.
But here's my point I'm trying to make. I'm just trying to give you the understanding of the difference in the powers of the teams that were formed on the team that existed. The Golden State Warriors were existing as a team that was a powerhouse. They won a championship. The next year, they won 73 games. They lose in 7 to Cleveland. Now Golden State gets KD. KD comes to a team that's already established. That's different than Miami that had to figure out how to play. They had a new coach. They had to understand the culture. We had Wade, who was trying to defer more to LeBron, whose personality wasn't of that level yet, not looking to be aggressive. So there was a lot of dynamics that team had to build through.
You mean to tell me
versus a team that KD just walked in the gym with and started shooting?
Wait. There was no growing pains, and they didn't have to establish a hierarchy of who was going to be down the stretch the go-to player?
Yeah. Miami did. Not Golden State. Golden State said, listen, KD, we are already great. Come to us, right? We both could beat LeBron because you lost to him too when you was in OKC. We can both beat LeBron, okay? And this will be your team. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be KD that's going to take the shots. All figured out. No problem. There was nothing there. KD didn't have to do anything. His game already fit what they were doing. There was no kind of evolution of trying to establish something that no one had ever seen before. They was already established. So that's all I'm saying. So that's why KD's move was a suck MC move, because if you are a great player, if you are a guy that's considered one of the elite, then you don't join an elite team. Now I could see, here's what I would better understand, or I would be more acceptable just for me as a fan. If KD and Steph went and say, you know what, we're gonna go down to New Orleans. I'm just saying, let's just say their contract situation was of such where they can go ahead and be free agents, and they build a team in New Orleans, okay, where you got a whole new GM, whole new ownership, different culture, different city, different players you never played with before, and then you went down there and you formed a team and you win.
Why do they have to do all that, Rod? Why do they have to?
Because you did an easy. But what I'm trying to say, that's what Miami did. That's what they did to a degree.
See, you're changing the narrative. My question to you is this: if you said Kevin Durant going to a team with other great players or superstars as it pertains to Steph Curry, Klay
Thank you, Christopher. Christopher made my point.
No, but that's okay. No,
Christopher made my point. That's exactly that's the point I'm trying to make, Christopher. You're right.
That's not the point.
It's two different dynamics.
Why does a great player inquire about another great player coming to their team? If Kevin Durant, that's a sucker move going to the Warriors. Steph Curry asking the Warriors to inquire about LeBron is a sucker move. At this point, why does Steph Curry?
I don't say it's a sucker move because, again, when you look at where they are in their career, right? You look at the makeup of their teams, which are neither team is dominant at all, to say the least, right? Unlike the Warriors were back when KD went to Golden State, and both players are now ending the latter part of their careers. Yes, they're still productive players, but they don't have enough to obviously be that guy anymore, right?
So the truth both of them together wouldn't make any noise in the West?
Oh, they would make some noise. They would make some. I still don't think they would beat. Denver or a healthy Clippers team. I still don't think they would do that. I don't think they would do that because you still got a lot of pieces there. If you would have gave a Kuminga, then that's it. What do you got? Kuminga, yeah, he's a different.
So then why would Steph even do it then? Why would Steph inquire about it?
I just told you why. Because
for the fans? You said for the fans.
It was for the fans, and it was just good, something just to make a splash with. That's all it would have. It wouldn't have done anything, and it wouldn't have hurt their legacy either way. You know, I mean, to me, it'd have been a goofy move. It would have been kind of like to me, like, why? But it wouldn't have amounted to anything because they weren't going to win anything together. That wasn't going to happen. Now, if you put them together maybe 10 years ago, then that's different. But now, it wouldn't have made a difference. These teams have gotten so much better. Oh, they probably wouldn't even be able to be OKC, perhaps. Okay? They wouldn't be able to be OKC. Not going to happen, D. Not going to happen. That team got no... There's neither team got... And Golden State got no defense. Their defense is trash. And even he said it. Steph said it the other day that they tried. He said, we're an average team. We're average. He screamed on the
Lakers make it to the Western Conference Finals last year?
You know why we made it to the Western Conference Finals? Because we got a break in our path to the finals. Okay? We got a break. We did. We got a break. And then Kawhi and the Lakers and the Clippers got hurt, right? They got hurt with Paul George and Kawhi. And we were able to play, yeah. And we played smaller teams. We played some smaller teams at
and
that
teams
time.
that
Golden
were
State
injured,
too
right?
small.
Ja Morant was trying to dunk when somebody got hurt.
And Adams was there, and the other kid that they got on defense was there. When Ja played, I don't think we would have got out of that first round.
Rod, you didn't say that last year, right? Listen.
I did say that. I did say that when injuries made a difference.
When I said that you guys had the easiest path, and that was the reason you were like, no, we're Anthony Davis, he's the best defensive player. You went on and on about how LeBron was playing, but you had an easy path.
But I said to you that
today.
But the Memphis series, though, that they did have key injuries, and with Ja being out a game in that series, and then you had, I think he missed 2 games in that series, if I'm not mistaken, I can't recall. And then you had Adams who was out, and then you had the other kid who was playing, I can't remember his name, the other defender. He was a big loss for them. He was key. And that without those 2 guys, I did acknowledge that.
Oh, the dude with the
I didn't call him a busted,
right?
Yeah, the braids. I think the dude with the braids. He was a big loss for them. He was a big loss for them on defense. That was a huge loss for them. So that's all I'm saying. Is I'm not calling him Buster Douglas like you call the Chiefs. The victory. It's a Buster Douglas thing. I ain't gonna go there, but I am gonna say that D. At the end of the day, it's 2 different scenarios. The context is completely different. There's no comparison between the move that KD made and the attempt that Steph made to try to get LeBron.
But you're comparing.
You can't, because Steph is not a suck MC.
So the attempt that Steph made, you kind of chalking it up to being more like Pippen trying to get a one more ring with Charles Barkley. That's all. That's all it is. And you know what? And they weren't going to get a chip. Was Pippen playing at a high level at that point?
No, not really.
But is Steph Curry still playing at a high level? Is my question.
Yes.
Just because his supporting cast is not measuring up doesn't mean Steph Curry is still not playing. He's playing at a top 5 level in the league.
He's an all-star this year, right? And rightfully so.
So why are we downplaying his individual play?
Because the league isn't the same anymore like it was back when KD was playing with Golden State. You didn't have a lot of competition. It was LeBron versus Golden State. That's all it was, D. Back then in that run, LeBron literally dominated the entire NBA. The Eastern Conference was on lock. Nobody was getting to the finals as long as LeBron was there, right? So we know that already. And then you had Golden State, who had risen up to be this powerhouse of a team, and Steph Curry's shooting was otherworldly, right? Then you get KD. So now that's it. There's nobody so that's the NBA right there. That's what everybody was upset about, because it's like, well, where's the competition? You're not gonna have any competition. It's gonna be LeBron versus the Warriors, and that's all it was. The Warriors built to stop one man, and one man had to fight to overcome what they did to counter his greatness. So that's all you had. But now you got a different landscape. You got much better teams in the league now. The Western Coast, you got OKC, you got Denver, you got the Clippers, you got Minnesota. And I don't think Minnesota, to me, I think they end up being they're the Dak Prescotts of the NBA. They're not going to really go anywhere. They got they're number 1 defensive team. They're really good, but they're playing a high level of ball. And Anthony Edwards is a dude. And so I'm saying they got players. They got teams now. So there's more parity than it was back when LeBron and them. So when KD went to Golden State, that was a seismic shift to the whole structure of the NBA. And that's why that move was colossal in that sense when he did that. It was a suck MC move, and we'll never, ever know if KD has enough to lead a team to a championship, which clearly he does not. And he's proven that so far in his career. Either he's going to get hurt or he's just not going to have enough to do, because all KD wants to do is ball. He ain't trying to He's not a LeBron that's going to get guys better and put people in position. He's not that kind of guy. He's not that kind of guy. Even MJ, to his credit,
he doesn't manipulate his power in the NBA the way
that's not
LeBron
manipulation.
does.
Greatness just brings everybody else up. That's all. You don't have to manipulate anybody to do that. You just got to be able to get guys to play up to another level. That's what Phil and Michael did to a degree.
And if they don't, you get 5 coaches fired, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can do that too.
Or get players, I want them gone, and they're gone, right?
Well, that's what any greatness does. You don't think that's what happened with a lot of guys who was great? Magic Johnson got Westhead fired, got him fired, and he won a championship with LA the year before. You know what I'm saying? With Magic there, and got him fired. Didn't like him. They was getting into it. Who's gonna go? Is it gonna be Magic or the coach? Up out of here. That's it. All right, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Well, that happens. That's part of sports. That's gonna happen. So it is what it is, D. You know what I mean?
What do you?
But go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. We'll just agree to disagree.
He was hoping that was going to be nothing.
No,
I
listen.
know. Yeah, you was hoping. What you gonna call Steph now? Steph was a 4-time champion, man. He's a 4-time champion.
That doesn't mean that if you're a 4-time champion and you're still playing at a high level, and knock on wood, he hasn't had any significant injuries, right? You don't think the Warriors, who have already proven and shown that they don't mind paying way over the luxury tax.
Oh, yeah.
You don't think that they can get players around Steph? You think people don't want, I mean, I know the Bay Area is very expensive to live, but you don't think that players would not be willing to come to the Warriors and play with Steph Curry?
No, I think players would definitely.
Why not just ride it out and do it that way? The non-sucker move, right?
Like yeah, you're right. They could do that, but
why would you call for LeBron?
I just think it's because it's just something that he thinks the fans would want to see, and it's just something that just kind of add a splash to the season. Not a good take. It's just adding a splash to the season. That's all. Just for him and LeBron to win out, and I think too, what they wanted to do, if anything, they were probably trying to explore something to say, hey, LeBron, are you going to opt in on your $51 million, which I'm sure he's going to do? No one's turning on $51 million now, although they're saying that they could negotiate that or whatever if that's possible. But the reality is that they may have just want to kick the tires on LeBron to get an idea of what he wants to do after his contract is up. Do you maybe want to come here and play with Steph? You know what I'm trying to say? This is what we might be doing here. Maybe this is something we can do. So if you don't want to come now, we can make the move now. You know what I'm trying to say? We'll pick up your option. And if you can win a chip here, because you're not going to win one in LA, you might stand a better chance of winning here. I could see the Golden State brass doing that in conjunction with Steph Curry. Because like you said, they're not doing that without Curry's acknowledgement or permission or go ahead. So again, it all falls back to Steph Curry.
Well, he's okay with another top 5 player coming and playing with him. Is what you're saying.
I mean, he needs that anyway. But he needs that. He doesn't have that anymore right now. He doesn't have
what I'm saying is,
he don't even have a top 15 player playing with him.
Every time with a top 3 player coming to play with him.
Wait, what did you say that again?
He was okay with Steph Curry. Because we agree the Warriors, that's Steph Curry's team. He is right. They love him. They drafted him. That's their Patrick Mahomes, right? Right. That's they love him.
Yeah, he's the Pat Holmes.
Did he sign off on Kevin Durant coming there?
Of course.
Was he okay? Did he give it his stamp of approval?
Yes, he did. Of course he did.
Did he give the stamp of approval for them to inquire about LeBron James?
Yes, he did.
So what does that say about Steph Curry? That he is willing and okay, based on your definition, not mine. If you join up, now that was 2 examples. Prime, because Steph was in his prime and he was still okay. And now Steph is old, right? According to you. Both times he was okay with a top 3 player coming and playing with him. What does that say about Steph Curry?
It doesn't say anything because here's number one. Okay, I'm going to tell you what. What it does.
One more thing. In both cases, would he be the best player? It shouldn't take you that long. He's not better than LeBron now. I'm thinking about LeBron. He's not better than Kevin Durant. So what does that say about Steph Curry? I need to kind of nail you to this. What does that say about Steph Curry?
Well, because maybe, okay, you could have an argument in the sense of Steph recruiting KD, but here's the difference. He had already won.
Okay, so he's won
but
now.
you can't take that away.
He's still willing to
He's
go
still
for LeBron.
because that suck MC move was more on KD than it was about Steph. Because Steph didn't have to, even though he approved KD coming, but KD didn't have to come. KD could have said, no, listen, we trying to beat y'all.
So we put all of the onus on Kevin Durant and none on Steph Curry being a top.
No, I don't. No, not at all. Because Steph Curry was already a champion. He was already a champion.
That's not a fair argument.
And he wasn't going to beat, and he knows in his heart, right? Even though he was a champion, if Kyrie and Love don't get hurt in that first championship appearance game, they lose. Then they lose the second time they play. Right?
So you're making my point for me.
I understand. But he still won, though, D. But in the scheme of things, he still was a champion already.
And he did win again. And
even though it was an aftermath, Steph still won another chip without KD. So he had 2 chips without KD.
That's all well and good.
And that's also that. Look, you can't make Steph. You can't make the first go round in that acquisition. That's not on Steph. I'm not going to put that on Steph because Steph was already a champion.
So was Draymond was driving. Draymond drove that trade or that acquisition of Kevin Durant.
I'm sure he had a lot to do with it, but I mean, ultimately, it was Steph's decision. But this time around with LeBron, he has nobody he's playing with. Think about it, D. What's his name? Thompson is not the player he was.
No, he's
not even a top 20 player anymore, right?
That's right.
So who does Steph have? So Steph is recruiting another player, which you do need in this league, right? Is it fair to say that you need at least, at the minimum, 2 top 10 players or 2, and not every team can have that.
Every team is not going to have 2 top 10 players.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. But if you're trying to be a contender, if you're a top 10 player and your team may have a possibility to contend, the only way is you got to get another player that's within your tier, right? And that's all Steph was trying to do. And he said, okay, let's get LeBron. We can't get anybody else. Let's get LeBron. He's in the final year of his deal. Let's see if we can get him to come in, and maybe we can work something out with him and talk to him about maybe what would be nice if him and Steph was able to hoist a trophy together. That would be great for the fans and everything, whatever. But that would have destroyed LeBron's legacy with the Lakers. That would have destroyed his legacy with the Lakers.
Off the hook in saying that Steph Curry's willingness or inquiry about LeBron was about the fans? Why are you making it that it was about the fans and not about Steph Curry getting more championships? It
was about that, but at the end of the day, D, and I'm not trying to say that Steph don't want more chips. Of course he does, but at the end of the day, D, when you look at his team, he knows his team is not a competitor. It's not like where they were before when they acquired Kevin Durant and they were already at the mountaintop. They're not there anymore. So you bringing in LeBron doesn't take away your legacy. It doesn't do or affect anything in terms of Steph Curry being cemented as one of the greater players and a champion to the level and caliber in which he is. By inquiring about LeBron, who's, yes, still at a high level, but you know there's no future with LeBron. If you could squeeze out another chip, okay, then you get one. But he needed a top 10 player to do that anyway. So if it had been LeBron, or if he inquired about a Paul George, or if he inquired about, maybe getting Sabonis, or who's not, Sabonis is a top 15 player. But if he was saying, look, I can't win with this team, I need another good player with me. Okay, so why not get that?
I just want you to be fair in your assessment of players. The era that we grew up in, right? Players didn't join other players. They just played on their team until their knees gave out, right? Other teams players now are getting together and they see that collaboration is going to get us further than me just being solely the man. So when we look at LeBron joining a super team, right?
Right.
Let us not forget that LeBron tried to get Kawhi Leonard, who is also in his prime. Let's not forget that Steph Curry tried to get 2 top 3 players in his time, when he was in his prime. And Klay is now not playing. You said he's not a top 20 player. What was Klay back then before the injuries? Remember his scoring and a two-way player. Was he a really good player then?
Yes, he was.
He was a splash brother, right?
Yeah, he was.
And yet he still was okay on bringing KD. I just don't want you to put it all on KD. He's not the only sucker based on your definitions. There's a lot of suckers in the NBA based on your definition. And you can't argue with that, Rod. Just be honest about it.
Okay, you know what
your
I'm saying?
argument crumbles because all of these players in their prime and as they aged still wanted to have a competitive team. And how do they do that? They don't go for, some good role players to fill out. They go for the top tier because they want to be in it now.
Okay.
Steph Curry going for LeBron was not about the fan experience. It has zero to do with the fan experience. He figured we can do more together than we can apart. Our teams are like 9th and 11th. We can get together, create a super team. Us two still playing at a high level is good enough with some extra pieces. Maybe keep Clay because he's in his last year. He can shoot if given the opportunity. He can still shoot because the focus won't be on Clay. It'll be on LeBron and Steph Curry, who are still playing at a high level. Those players will be able to be enough to be top 5. Right now, top 5 in the West, maybe top 4. Yeah, I think that would make that constitutes a super team, in my opinion.
Well, look, if you're making the point, which is what you're making, right, that the sucker MC move can be shared with Steph as well, right? As far
Absolutely.
as what I define that, right? Okay.
Yep.
That's
your definition, not mine.
You could make right. My part of my definition of the sucker MC move. You can make that argument, and I agree with you in that sense. I agree with you in that sense. Yes, I agree with you in that sense. Okay, I will agree with you there. But the difference is here, though, right?
The butt came in.
With Steph, and maybe this just speaks to LeBron's greatness, right? Because Steph knew that he had no way, as great as Thompson was, and Draymond being a 2-time defensive NBA player of the year, and he was in his prime as well, right? And they had some good players back then. Still, their role players were still really good. They didn't have enough to beat LeBron, right? So Steph understood, we're going to be in the dance, right? At least the next 2 to 3 years. If we're going to win some chips, we got to be able to beat him and Kyrie. But mainly it's about LeBron, right? We got to be able to beat these guys because we don't have enough to beat them. So he goes and he recruits KD. Now, KD, we know, to me, the suck MC move to even consider that option, to consider that invitation.
It's the chicken or the egg.
Here's the thing.
The thought first that we need to get someone else to beat LeBron is the initial sucker MC move. That's the sucker move, because you should just say, let's man up. We got to get better. Play better, play within our strengths. We have arguably 2 top 5 shooters in the league at the time. A player that's been multiple defensive player of the year. That's what you have to focus on. What you within, not without. So the fact that Steph Curry said, I got to go outside of what's going on in Oakland, I'm the initial sucker. Now, if you say he wants to match up sucker for sucker with KD accepting it, then that's fine. But LeBron's a sucker based on your definition. KD's a sucker based on your definition.
I don't think
Steph
LeBron
Curry's
was a sucker. No, LeBron wasn't a sucker.
Did he try with Anthony Davis to get Kawhi Leonard?
He needed a top 10 play. No, he did try to get Kawhi. He did. But the Lakers were. But remember,
yes?
But right. But remember,
that's a sucker move. That's a sucker move.
No, but what I'm saying is that, okay, so he was trying to bring.
And Kawhi said the only one you want to, if you want to say someone's not a sucker, is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was like, nah, I'm not joining LeBron and Anthony Davis. I'm going to go to the basement, as some people say, and I'm going to build a team around me.
Yeah,
so
no, I agree.
The only person that is in that superstar level that's not a sucker is Kawhi Leonard. LeBron is a sucker. Kevin Durant is, and so is Steph Curry now. Now that you're asking about LeBron James. The nerve of you.
But the difference, he said the nerve of you.
The nerve.
But the nerve of you.
Of him.
D. The difference in LeBron getting Kawhi is, again, you can't forget the context of what the team looked like before they got there. All right? That's the difference. Again, it's like if 3 good players, superstar players, got together and they went to Houston, or they went to like what they did in Brooklyn, right? When you get Kyrie and KD They decided, okay, we're going to go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn was not a good team. They went to Brooklyn, right? And they decided they was going to do something there, right? That's a little, to me, in my mind, that's a little different than you joining a team that was legit already. Now, that's all my KD. I will concede this. You are right about Steph. As you're making your argument, I'm kind of thinking it through. I'm listening to what you're saying in a little more detail. And what I think Steph did, what does make him take some ownership of the sucker MC move, is that you went and got one of the most prolific shooters
ever.
No, prolific scorer ever, right? Most efficient. And KD, in my mind, I would probably put him in, I would say definitely top 10 all time. No question, top 10 all time. I would put him top 10 all time. He could arguably be top 5 all time, but I would put him top 10 all time. You went and got him, and that just totally put you into a stratosphere that's how much LeBron had you under pressure, that you went and you took Magic and Kareem and Worthy and Bird and put them all in a fountain of youth and brought them back out and say, now this is our team, right? Like you jumped out the window when you went and got KD to join your team, okay? Forget what KD decided to do. We're talking about steps. I agree with you there. I think that is a sucker MC.
Now,
yeah,
might take
I agree.
Our next show
that was
to
a sucker
bring
MC
LeBron
because he
into
couldn't
the
beat him.
fold. It may take next show to get LeBron into the fold, because if you
LeBron's
think about,
not in there, LeBron's not in there. LeBron's not in there.
Let me just make this statement, and then we can wrap the show for now. That's fine.
Okay.
If you think about how many super teams that LeBron attempted to set up, the only Kawhi foiled his, because think about this. If LeBron had it his way, he would have had Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and himself, and maybe some. You don't need much after that. 3 top 10 players, because this was Kawhi at a level that was still very high. This is before maybe a second or third injury. This is before he went to the Clippers. They wanted him at that high level after you already got a top 10 player, arguably top 5 in Anthony Davis. Yeah. So LeBron, and we're talking, 6 years ago? You want to have 3 top 10 players on your team, and you're saying by your definition that's not a sucker move? Well, after you already had a team with Wade and Chris Bosh, which was already a super team, not 4, not 5, not 6. Those aren't sucker moves?
Well, I think
how many super teams can you create in your lifetime? I know you've been playing for 21 years, but every what?
Okay, when he only created one super team, D, if you think about it. When we say a super team, and this is my mind. We're talking about 3.
Saying he attempted.
He attempted to get Kawhi, but I think Kawhi, but Kawhi there was some interest in Kawhi being a Laker. I think there was some evidence of Kawhi possibly wanting to play in LA. Okay,
now he wanted to play in LA.
Right. Well,
but he just didn't want to join a super team.
Right, exactly. Which is I think what it is, because he's got a super team now. The only thing is, even when he was going to team with Paul George, right? And so George was already there in LA. So the reality is, because remember, the Lakers tried to get Paul George too. There was thought about trying to get him as well. So what I'm saying is
once again, LeBron was taking any superstar
LeBron made an
possible.
attempt. LeBron made an attempt for that.
To join, I need 3. I have already 2 players on my team that are in the top 5. Arguably, no question, top 10.
He did.
But I need a third player now.
He did.
Scales
but I agree, and I will agree, and I will concede this part of my argument to you.
We're getting there now.
I will concede this part of my argument to you in the fact that, again, that's a jump out the window thing, right? You got AD, right? And if you're trying to get a Paul George or Kawhi, again, you're going to seismically shift the whole West if you do something like that.
When KD went to the Warriors, a seismic shift. That's what you said,
when KD went to the Warriors, that's right. It would have been a seismic shift. So I agree with you there. I don't think that should have been. I don't think you knew there. And I think Kawhi did the right thing, because Kawhi, technically, from what I feel, because Kawhi likes to run his own thing, right? In terms of his low management and what he wants. He wants that little, he likes to be catered to a little bit in that sense. He wants to be the star on the team. right?
Okay.
He wouldn't have wanted to concede that. He wasn't going to do what Wade did as far as giving the team to LeBron. He wasn't going to do what Steph did. Hey, KD, this is your team.
Rightfully so.
Whatever. He wasn't going to do that. He's like, no, whoever plays with me, I'm going to be the best guy. And he proved that especially after winning Toronto. Although he would have lost that series if Clay and KD didn't get hurt. We know how that series would have ended out. Okay, they would have won. But nevertheless, I can see what you there.
That's to say the Warriors wouldn't have won if Love and Kyrie were there.
No, they wouldn't have won.
We might have a whole different discussion about Steph Curry today, prior to Kevin Durant playing with him.
Well,
if that happened,
because if they'd have lost 2 times in a row to LeBron, right, instead of going 1-1 with them, if they'd have lost those 2 games, those 2 championship games, they'd have still gotten KD, and KD would have won the next 2.
But my point is, your mindset towards KD as being a bus rider rather than a savior of that team would have been completely different. If he had lost twice to LeBron and then Kevin Durant got there and put him over the top, you'd put some respect on Kevin Durant's name. You disrespect him because they lucked out and got a championship with 2 major players being injured. Yeah. So it's all about perspective, right? And that's what I'm here to help you with.
I agree. No, I agree. Okay, you make a point there. I mean, listen. What you did in today's argument, all right? Let me just make sure you understand what you did, so I could let you know that my argument still stands that KD is the bus rider, right?
Cool. But
still the bus rider.
There's other people on the bus.
But the thing is, I agree with your argument about Steph.
Steph Curry's in there. LeBron's in there.
Steph, well, he's not a bus rider. Steph's not a bus rider, but Steph, in the sense of wanting to get a KD because of LeBron. That to me speaks to more to LeBron's greatness than anything else, right? That you would want to take down. You would want to try to beat, and which is what he felt in his mind that was the only way to do, to bring KD there to do that.
Okay,
right?
Cool.
So,
but what makes the component of bus rider is the person that you're inquiring to bring. If they're better than you, you have to get out of your position of being the man in order to let someone slide into that position. So if we both agree that LeBron today is better than Steph Curry and Kevin Durant then was better than Steph Curry, then there is he's not driving the bus
but he
anymore.
did win a ring though, D, without either of them. Never played with LeBron, and he won without. No. But I'm talking about the 4th ring. I'm saying in other words, he did null and void whatever theory that people have that Steph couldn't even win without KD. Right? He had to prove that because there were people that say he only won that 1 chip, which is what we're saying today, that because of Kyrie and Love being hurt. But he did come back and prove it. And he beat a very good Boston team, and they won it. And remember, he was a step older then. Clay wasn't even really the player he was. So to Steph's credit, that's the thing you can't take away too much. So I agree with you in your argument in that sense that, he takes some culpability of being a bus rider, but he does make up for it because he did win without KD. And KD remains the bus rider, of extraordinaire, because he has yet to win without the Warriors. And that's what he has to do. And that is a fact, D. And it looks like KD would not win ever again. He's not going to win another chip. So his chips will be tied to his bus riding moves that he made.
You will have to say his name with 2-time NBA champ, 2-time MVP. His accolades are enough. Even if he never wins anything else, he's okay.
But when it comes to the championship discussions, he don't get to sit atop the great ones as far as those championship discussions, in my opinion, because you got to win without them. That's what Kobe made his whole career about. I got to win without Shaq. I need to win. And Shaq said, I got to win without Kobe. And they both did it.
Pau Gasol a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He's Hall of Famer.
Okay.
I think the NBA Hall of Fame is trash.
So if you're trying to make it that KD has to win by himself solely,
No, I'm not saying that.
Great player
he needs to be the best player on the team. But he needs to be the best player on his team.
Kevin Durant is always the best player on his team. Tell me a team where he's not the best player.
Okay. So he has to win with the Suns. Okay, I agree with you. Okay.
He's the best player on the Suns.
No, he is the best player on the Suns. So he's got to win with Phoenix.
Even without taking the most shots. He's still the best player.
He's still the best. I agree with you there. I won't disagree with you there. And Booker has gone to a finals and lost, right? So we know Booker can't do it. So the reality is that KD has to win a chip. Now, he wins a chip with Phoenix, which I don't think he will. Even though Phoenix is playing better now. They getting it together now. All right. But and he also inquired about Beal too. You know, they tried to get Beal too. Was it Golden State? Somebody tried to get. They inquired about Beal and Booker, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say Golden State. I could be wrong. I got to research it. We'll talk about it on the next show.
Recently?
No, yeah, during the trade. Somebody was inquiring about Beal.
Steph is about that bus
But
life.
you can't blame him for that though, D, because at this stage of his career, him trying to get another top 10 player, there's no harm and no foul in that. No, you can't. Now the KD, the move he did back then, to your point, as you further elaborated on it, you brought some more context to it. I said, okay, I agree with you there. Now that you're putting it that way, and then okay, fine. But not now, though, D. You can't fault the man now for trying to get another superstar in there with him. He doesn't have a superstar with him now. Players come up the bench for crying out loud. And that was his splash brother. So you know what's going down. You know what you want the guy to do. He got to get another player on there. I mean, come on. Come on. If Giannis could fight for Dame Lillard to come there, right? And he's way better now than any.
Well, let me just explain
his
that
team
to
is even better.
That is a terrible move. Doc Rivers and the Bucks they're not doing well. It's terrible.
They are trash.
We're going to see what happens. I think that is going to go down. Like, you fired a coach who was at the time in second place in the East.
But you know who fault that is? And you know who? And
Giannis
I love it. On Giannis. And Giannis, you better eat it. And you better take full responsibility for what happens to this team this year. Yeah, definitely agree with you there.
It's all, it lays at the foot of the Greek freak. It's his fault. This is what he wanted. You get rid of a good defender, a good scorer.
Great player.
And you said you trade and he goes to Boston?
Right. Well, he ended up going, Holiday he went somewhere else, then went to Boston.
Oh, he didn't go directly to Boston.
Yeah, it wasn't a direct trade there.
I was about to say, that would be
Boston traded for him. Not with Milwaukee, though. With
he got bought out or something? No.
Yeah, I got to look. Yeah, I forget what.
He's too good to get bought out that quick.
No, he wasn't bought out. They did it. They did a trade.
Or was it a 3-team trade that sent him?
It was like a 3-team trade or something to that effect.
But I say all that to say, Doc Rivers ain't it. Dame Lillard, as great as he plays, he ain't it because defensively, he's a huge liability. Thanasis ain't it.
Who's not it, you said?
Thanasis.
Oh, yeah.
Giannis' brother, just taking up a roster spot. He ain't it.
Not.
So.
Oh, no, he was traded to Portland. He was traded to the Blazers in the trade. They traded him to Portland, and Portland let him go. Portland traded him for some picks. He went to, alongside, let me see, on September 27, 2023, Holiday alongside DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Kamara, and a 2029 first-round draft pick was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers as part of a 3-team deal that sent Lillard to Milwaukee, Grayson Allen, Nurkic, Little, and Keon Johnson to the Suns. 4 days later, he was traded to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Robert Williams and Brogdon. And 2 future first-round draft picks, so they got picks for him. So that's how he ended up.
That's a great pickup because Brogdon hasn't been playing well, and Robert Woods,
he was trash.
Robert Williams, he had surgery, and I don't think he hasn't played back. He's been out for the season, right?
No, he has not. He has not.
Good pickup.
Yeah, good. Yeah. No, that was
especially
smart
if Boston
could
kind of spin that into a championship.
Correct.
They're gonna have to do something because
they're
gonna have to do something because which course up for another up for a $300+ million contract.
Who's that? Lillard?
No. I'm talking about from Boston. Boston.
Yeah, Tatum.
With Tatum. So you have 2 players for $600 million on your team.
And that's a bad move. I'm gonna tell you why. Because again, Jaylen Brown he's the Dak Prescott of
everybody can't be Dak Prescott.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. I need to stop saying that about my quarterback, man. I need to.
That's your quarterback.
I keep cursing my quarterback that.
That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. My quarterback. Man. I gotta stop saying that. Poor Dak. All right, I won't say that anymore.
No, Dak's okay. He just had a baby. He's about to get $60 million a year. Dak is going to be okay.
No, I mean, as far as his life, I have no sympathy about his life. I mean, he good.
He has his sleep number is set to 89 every night. He's okay. He's okay. Let's not cry him.
All right, well, since you put it that way, so Jaylen Brown is the Dak Prescott of basketball for the Boston Celtics because he doesn't show up in playoffs in the meaningful games. And you're going to it's more burden that's going to be on Tatum because Brown doesn't show up. He's overrated to me. Very overrated.
They have a good team. I mean,
they do.
Porzingis and of course Tatum and what's the other guy's name? They still got the dude with the hairline, right? That used to wear the
he
headbands.
got the
White hair, right?
Yeah,
His
White.
name's White.
Yeah.
They got a good team. They got enough to win for sure. If those key players can show up,
right? If those key players can show up, then they'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? But they will be. I think they could get to the finals though this year. Yeah, I think they'll get to the final. I think they'll lose to either Denver or the Clippers.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah. I don't mind that. Actually, I don't mind seeing the Clippers win. I'm actually going to. I'm gonna low key. I'm a low key. They'll be my pick. They're gonna be my pick for the championship.
Really? As a Laker fan.
Only because of the fact that the Clippers mean nothing to me. They've never been no threat. I don't care how well they play. They're still the little brothers. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because they're no threat. If you're a real Laker fan, you can throw them a bone. They're getting their own stadium next year. They'll be out of our house. We don't care. They're like the oversized son that's still there, right? And just like, look, we just want you to go. We'll help.
Lives
you.
in the
Go ahead,
basement,
we'll help you.
right?
Yeah, he lives in the basement. He's been down there forever.
Cereal boxes, and you got nothing but cereal, eating cereal all day.
Oh. Yeah, it's like, you know what? Go ahead. We're gonna come out of pocket. We're gonna help you, man. Go ahead, just so you can go. That's
got
it. So go
PlayStation,
ahead.
Not 4, not 5, not 6.
Not 5. Right. PlayStation 8. Right. He's not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Right. He's on PlayStation 8 playing, and it's like, all right, man, you gotta go. You know what I mean? I don't care if the Clippers win. It don't matter. It don't change anything with the Lakers. We still rule LA. I'm fine with it. They got no statues out there. What are they gonna put out there? Who's gonna be their statue guy?
Vando.
You know what I mean?
Vando is gonna be the first statue.
Y'all got
Vando
with the
3
Lakers,
Kobe statues and 1 Vando statue coming soon, right? Just let you tell it. Vando is the difference maker.
Vando, man, I'm telling you, Vando, he's our TJ Allen, man. He's our TJ Ward, rather. Who is it that?
I don't know. I'm not going to assist you with that nonsense. But Rob, man, listen, good show. I'm glad that. Listen, I encourage everyone to rewatch the show and see how a good take.
You got me. You got me.
Perseverance counts for something. Stick to your guns. If you believe in something and it's right, you stick to it. You explain. You give a good explanation as to why you feel some way about something with facts, right? This is not with favor or fanaticism. This is facts. You give facts about why you feel a certain way, and in time, a reasonable thinker, a logical thinker will align with their thoughts.
That.
It worked out.
It worked out. So they share the blame. That was the conclusion. They share the blame. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. For the first one. I agree. Yeah.
Shout outs to Kingdom Creative for the production.
Casey.
Shout outs to Infinite Audio for the music. Please, everyone, like, share, subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and what else do I have? TikTok. We have TikTok now.
And IG now, right? We
got IG. Yeah. Instagram. Okay. We're on every social platform now. Please leave comments if you like our takes. If you agree with them. Hey, let us know. We'll address it. We're officially into the NBA season. This is All-Star Weekend. We'll see what these NBA teams do down the stretch. But in any case, we appreciate it, Rod. Good show, man.
Good show, my brother. Always a pleasure. And you know how
Thanks
we do.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, everybody. Peace.